Hello and good afternoon, everybody. First of all, I would just like to thank everybody for joining us. And could I just have a reminder, please, that if you have currently got your camera on or your microphone on, could you please switch them off, please, just to ensure that the video recording doesn't show yourself in and to make sure that everything is nice and smooth. Okay. Okay, so first of all, just to introduce this topic. We are currently looking at the introduction to live lessons and pre-recorded lessons on how ourselves and Ribblesdale currently do this within our own school. So first of all, I'd like to give you a little introduction about the consortium. Okay, the consortium that we are a part of is basically consists of 3 different schools, and these are here to ensure that we can support other educational establishments in getting used to educational technology and using educational technology to support pupils, staff and their whole community. Our consortium consists of 3 different schools. We have Ribblesdale High School, which is ourselves, who use a lot to do with Microsoft Office and 365. We have Hambleton, who are a school, a primary school, who use Google Classroom, and then we also have Highfurlong, and Highfurlong are our specialist school, okay, who also use a lot to do with Apple devices and Apple technology as well. So no matter what support you are looking for, our consortium should be able to provide that guidance for you. What we aim to do is we hope to ensure that we can equip primary, secondary and post-16 education with the skills that they need to be able to provide a 21st century education using a variety of different platforms to engage and support their pupils. And not just that, we like to give a real say on how technology can be used. Okay, we are here as teachers, okay, we are here as educators that has used technology, some which has gone right, some which has not gone so right, and we're here to give honest opinions of our views to be able to support yourselves. We hope that these sessions are basically taster sessions and what this technology can be used for. Okay, so first of all, what can we offer within our consortium? We have a variety of different platforms that we can use, okay, and that we can advise on. We have the ability to give some experience on how EdTech can be used for remote, but also looking forward to September, maybe a hybrid working approach as well. We also very, very important that when using technology, it brings up new and different challenges of safeguarding, so we can give some advice and some ideas on how we can do that. And more, just as important, it's about our pupils, how we can support them, how we can give them education, and how we can ensure that they're safe when they're actually using these platforms. We also need to make sure that the well-being of all of our communities is looked after, ensuring that the technology that they are using provides them with a stable education, but also gives them the ability to be out there in the physical, in the real world as well, engaging with their real life and their own friends and family as well. And one of the big ones at the moment, which the government is looking for, is this EdTech transformation strategy. How can we start bringing more and more schools into the 21st century by ensuring that we are delivering a curriculum that is suitable for our new pupils that are going up and through the education system. We often forget that our pupils are what we would call digital natives. They've been born into technology, and it's often sometimes teachers that are a little bit more concerned about using this. So we like to give certain strategies on how we can make sure that we can provide the correct CPD and ensure that teachers have the confidence to be able to deliver a wide and broad curriculum. So first of all, just to give you a bit of information about Ribblesdale and our journey. Okay, we are actually a local authority 11 to 16 school. Okay, we have a mixed cohort of around about 1,300 pupils from a range of different backgrounds. Okay, we as a school, we currently use the Office 365 platform, which is used across the whole of the school to support teaching and learning, and hasn't just been uptaken since the remote learning period. This has been used within school for a good couple of years, so we were quite fortunate when it struck, as we were ourselves quite prepared. And we also have at the moment over 1,000 students with their own Windows 10 device, which they can use for in school and also outside of school to support them within their education. So why use EdTech? Well, the first thing is a lot of people ask why should we go to technology? You know, what we've done as a school, the traditional methods, you know, have always worked. And I think that the question is technology shouldn't be used as an add-on. Okay, it should be used to support already good teaching and good pedagogy that is going on in our schools. It has to be ensured that it supports the teaching and learning and gives teachers another item within their toolkit that they can use to support their pupils when they are delivering content. Technology doesn't work if we think of it as an add-on. We should always think of it as something that is used to support our current good teaching strategies that we already use. We need to ensure that when we are using technology, that our staff are more confident, that our staff are given the skills before our actual students are. And the reason it goes back to what I said before is the majority of our pupils can pick up a piece of technology or a piece of 21st century learning tool very, very quickly because they are digitally native. They've been brought up with this technology around them. It's often staff and more experienced members of teams that often come to a little bit more concerned when they are approaching on how to use these within the classroom. The first thing that I would always say about this is, as a teacher, it's not important to be the expert on using a piece of software. Teachers are the experts of pedagogy. We know how to teach. We know how to get the best out of our students. We know what we're looking for on success criteria. Just because we set something on a piece of technology, say, for example, Minecraft, it doesn't mean that we need to be the experts on that software to ensure that our pupils are engaged and are able to show us that they understand the content. Now, there are also a variety of these different tech tools that we use. For example, within Ribblesdale, we currently use OneNote, we use Learning by Questions, Century Tech, Doddle, Kahoot, and one of the big ones that we use is Microsoft Teams. And you would know that if you've been a part of any of our webinars in the past. We use Microsoft Teams as our vehicle, basically to drive the pedagogy and the teaching and learning that we want to provide for our students. And that gives us a means to be able to use all of these other variety of different techniques to engage our pupils. And I suppose that the next question is why bother? Okay, so when we're integrating technology, we need to ensure it has the right impact. And if it doesn't have the right impact, don't integrate it, don't bring it in. Okay, it shouldn't be something that's brought in because it's shiny, very new. It should be brought in because it has an impact. It's doing the right thing. It's supporting our pupils. It's engaging our pupils. It's giving them different ways to do that. It's preparing them for a future within the 21st century. And it's always important that we evaluate that process. When we're bringing in something, when we're using something, we need a proper evaluation process to ensure that what we are doing is correct. So, as I stated, we use Microsoft Teams with at Ribblesdale. So just to give you a bit of an idea about how we use this. So we've been using Microsoft Teams for around about 3 to 4 years in a blended learning approach within school. As I stated, we've slowly been rolling out a one-to-one scheme where our pupils by the end of next year will all have a device which they can use within school and outside of school. Now, this device does not have to be used every single lesson. It is used when the teacher thinks that it is the most appropriate method to use. So what do we use it for? It allows teachers to think differently, be more innovative, approach pupils in a different way. And when we first brought this in, before, I would say, and even before the remote working stage, staff were basically using it to collaborate and to communicate with each other, share resources, reduce workload. And then some teachers had then developed their confidence to be able to use it as a digital learning platform, where they started to engage some pupils and some classes, to use it as a learning tool. We had some English classes where there were no books involved anymore. Every lesson was done with on the device. Now that evolved as we went into lockdown, and during that lockdown, our staff were then basically given a reason to use Teams as more of a virtual classroom. It was basically the glue that allowed the teaching and learning to take place, but that still did not change the pedagogy. It just made us think slightly different. And then it allowed us to communicate and collaborate with our staff and our students. And that's something that we, within the teaching profession is extremely important. It's that communication, it's that human interaction side of it as well. And that is something that Teams allowed us to do. It allowed us to try and ensure that we gave our pupils as much normality as we possibly could. And now we're starting to look forward, and maybe in September, where not many of us know what will be there, but we're looking at probably more of a hybrid teaching and learning approach, and we hope to use Teams to do that. So we will continue to deliver lessons, maybe in a different way as it evolves, but we will always enhance the way that we use Teams and always evaluate the impact, and whenever we need to, change the way that we are currently using this the system. Now, today's webinar is based around live lessons. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a brief introduction, only a very brief one, about what we do within Ribblesdale and how we've approached this. So the first thing that we did is, within Microsoft Teams, you can use the Meet Now button or the meeting button, as we are doing right now, to create live lessons. So as we did that within Ribblesdale, we didn't actually say that any teacher needed to do that. It was up to the teacher to be able to, if they felt confident, to be able to create those live lessons. Okay, and we started to do that by asking teachers to do it within a form period, where within their form, where the pupils feel a bit more comfortable as they're with them each day, we ask them to do a live lesson to see how it would work. And once that had happened, we then started to bring this out to more lessons, where teachers that got a little bit more confident started to try delivering live lessons. Okay, now one of the important things that we would state about this is what we found, because once again we always do that. We always like to reflect on what we've done. Now, the thing that we found with live lessons is that pupils wanted to use it more as a bit of a social gathering. And it was used and worked very, very well for pastoral support. They wanted to speak to the teacher, they wanted to see the teacher, they wanted to have conversations with their colleagues. But often it was quite difficult to deliver a type of knowledge that was suitable for the pupils to be able to retain that knowledge. So as we started to use live lessons, we quickly realized that it was probably for a different purpose. It was probably more for the support and the well-being of pupils. And as my colleague in a minute will mention, how it was used to sort of introduce new topics. So we as a school are starting to think a little bit more differently about it. Live lessons to us will be used for that pastoral support and the well-being. For more delivery of knowledge, we are going to start and carry on using our pre-recorded content. Now, we thought that this was the best way for pupils to be able to support the delivery of knowledge, as they could go back and watch that video, they could retrieve the knowledge that they want, and they could access that video anytime that they would like. And we were adding these different types of videos in channels, in like streams, so pupils would be able to access that at their own pace. And it also allowed pupils to be able to access it in different ways, and teachers to be more innovative. Okay, and Jenna will show us some different techniques that she has used in a moment. And moving forward, we've decided to start looking at live lectures. Now, what we mean by live lectures is it wouldn't be done within a meeting area. It would be done within a live event, where We would deliver new content in university-style lectures with follow-up activities, where pupils can't come off mute or start talking to the teacher to ask questions live. They would need to pose those questions in the chat function. And at that time, we will schedule different live lessons throughout the week where we would expect pupils to come on, and that is where we're starting to look to deliver new content and moving forward as a school. Bear with me. Jenna, at this moment in time, has there been any questions placed on the chat?
No, we're all good, Lee.
Okay, fantastic. It normally doesn't happen at this time, okay? Just to let everybody know, because I did forget that, and I normally do at the start of the session. But if you have any questions, please post them within the chat function on the Microsoft Teams. Okay, we have noticed that every now and again that chat function will not be there, okay, depending on the browser that you use. If that is the case, there is a raise your hand function. If you could raise your hand, please, function at the end of the session, and we will answer any questions that we can. At this moment in time, I'd like you to introduce you to my colleague, which is Jenna Sanderson, and she is currently a mathematics teacher who is certainly leading the way on developing pre-recorded and live lesson content. And Jenna has very kindly offered to show and share some of her great techniques with you. So when you're ready, Jenna, thank you very much.
Thanks, Lee. So what I'm going to try and just give you a bit of an overview about today is why I use pre-recorded content sometimes instead of live lessons, what that would look like in terms of a virtual lesson, because I don't just send them a video most of the time, what different ways I record my content, because there's a few different options for that and one might suit you better than another, and then what options there are for sharing those. So we'll just look at why I started to use this pre-recorded content. So at first, we started by sort of giving pupils an overview, just like a message that describes what their work was and what they needed to do. And I found that once I started using audio messages, the pupils were so much more responsive and they really liked hearing my voice for some reason. So I started then looking into how can I record my lessons. And again, at first, I wasn't that confident with just videoing myself talking. So the first thing I looked at was how to just provide audio over like annotated content. So that's one of the things that as a maths teacher, it's really useful to be able to do. And the feedback from pupils was overwhelming. They actually said, we love maths lessons now because it's like we're in the classroom. We can pause you, we can rewind you, and they just love it. It also means that they can go back to it at a later date, so it's fantastic for their revision. And it means that some pupils can access it later on in the day, some of them can access it straight away in the morning, so it seems to be working really, really well. So just move that on, Lee. So there's loads of different ways that I use my pre-recorded content. I started off just by simply attaching a video file to whatever task I was setting, and the pupils liked that, but as I progressed more with it, I wanted to be able to make more of a proper lesson. So I wanted them to be able to access the video content as well as trying some questions and a variety of tasks. So at the moment, on a weekly basis, I try and use a mixture of all these that you can see on the screen. So Microsoft Forms quizzes, which are really good because they're self-marking and they give you some like overall analysis as well. Then we use something called Learning by Questions, which is a fantastic resource and gives the pupils loads of feedback as well. So try and incorporate some of that. There's loads of different platforms out there for different quizzes. But the two that I'm focusing on at the moment are Kahoot and Nearpod. And that's because I feel like those platforms give you the opportunity to put a full lesson together rather than having separate bits of instruction and tasks. So what we're going to do is I've put together a couple of my lessons for you to have a look at. So the first one is on Kahoot, and what I'm going to do is post the link in the chat for those of you that can see the chat. And for those of you that can't see the chat because you're in a browser, if you want to just go to kahoot.it and put the code in which is seen on your screen now, then you will be able to access my lesson. For those of you that can't do that, Lee's going to pull it up on the screen in just a minute or two so that you can have a quick look at what it looks like for a pupil. But the thing that I really like about it is you can put videos in at all different sections through the quiz. There's loads of different styles of questions, so it's suitable for a range of subjects. There's open-ended questions, multiple choice ones, true or false. There's polls where you can gather opinions, and you can set these as student self-paced challenges, so they can work on it in their own time at any point during the day, and you can either limit the amount of attempts that they have or ask them to just have their best go at it. So Lee's just going to show you what that looks like.
Okay.
So you just simply enter your name. And then for this one, I've put a video at the beginning and then some questions, a video halfway through, and then some more questions and an opinion poll at the end. So all pupils would do is watch the video, they just press play and watch the video and then click got it when they've understood, and then the questions appear one at a time. You can set the timers for all these as well to suit your groups. Well done, Lee.
I did ask for the answer before. I think that when you see Kahoot being used as a live lesson, it works very, very differently than we would expect or we would have used within a classroom environment, as we tend to use it as a bit of a competitive tool, if that's correct, Jenna?
Yeah, definitely.
Should I move on to...
You can still have that element to it. At the end, you can post the podium to your class if you want to show them the leaderboard, or you can just keep it quite anonymous as well, and they can just have a go.
Okay.
Thanks, Lee. That'll do for that one. So with the Kahoots, I tend to use those when it's a topic that a class is quite familiar with usually. So something maybe that we are revisiting before we build on that content. Because they are familiar with it, a lot of our pupils are used to using Kahoot in lessons. They seem to be at ease with using that style of platform. So I've used that quite a bit. But then I didn't feel like that was the best way of introducing new content, because there's the pressure with the timed questions and they can't actually click back to watch the video if they've already clicked on got it and moved on. So I started then looking into other options for putting a full lesson together to deliver new content. So that's where I started using something called Nearpod. Now there's loads of different platforms out there which are similar to Nearpod, but in my opinion, Nearpod seems to give the most features for free at the moment. And what it allows you to do is deliver content as if you were teaching in the classroom, but also intertwine that with activities for the pupils to do. So just to give you a bit of an experience from a pupil's perspective, again, I'm going to pop a link into the chat. So if you would like to have a go at it, then you can do. If you can't access the chat, you can just go to nearpod.com and put the code in that is on the screen. And hopefully you'll just get a bit of an idea of how it works more as a lesson. So you're able to just browse through it and look at the variety of activities. And I think Lee's going to just show you, for those of you that can't access, roughly what that looks like. So you can have slides just like you would in a PowerPoint, but you can play audio content over the top of that. And it's really easy to just record your own audio over the top. Then I can also put video content in there. There are things like matching tasks for the pupils to complete. And as a teacher, you can see how many attempts they needed to do for things like that. You can add things like PDFs into there. So if you've already got resources that work really well, you can put those in. You can actually have a draw it task. So you might have an image or a question that you want pupils to annotate, and they can do that, or draw you a diagram. Lee's just showing you now an example of a fill in the blanks task. And all of these you can set as a student's self-paced challenge, so they can do it at any point during the day, but those responses come in live. So as a teacher, I can see who's logged in when and how they're doing, how many attempts they've had, and where they might need some support. It's also got a really nice feature, which I think might be right at the end, Lee, which is called Time to Climb. And it's a bit of a gamified quiz for them. And that gives them the sort of competitive edge that Kahoot provides, but also with a bit of teaching and a bit more structure to the lesson as well.
I won't go through the whole game at the moment.
No, don't worry, that's fine, Lee. We can go back to the PowerPoint.
I think the idea is at the moment is to give you some ideas that maybe you can go away with to have a look after this session. We will provide links for you so you can actually have a little look at these within the follow-up email that we bring.
Yeah. So on this slide, hopefully you can see a little bit more of how I've been using these for lessons. So you can see an example of the draw it function. On the right hand side in the middle, you've got a collaboration board. And this is something that I've used in both pre-prepared content, but also in live lessons, where you can ask a question and pupils can all contribute to that board. So that's a really nice feature. But there are so many different options for content and activities that, to be honest, the best way for you to get your head around it is just to have a go and see what works for your subject. So the bit that I'm going to focus on is showing you how to create the pre-recorded content. So I'm not going to talk you through sort of how to produce the full lesson, but how to do the bit where you're talking them through something. So I'm going to just take over and show you now the first way using PowerPoint, because that seems to be the one that's working the best for me, but there are a few different ways of doing it.
I will just stop sharing my screen, Jenna, so you can now take control.
No worries. Okay, so within PowerPoint, you can access a recording tab. Now, when you usually open up PowerPoint, that recording tab isn't there. So the first thing that you need to do is set it up so that you can see that recording tab. So I'm just going to show you that bit first. So we just go to File and go down to Options. And what you'll get is the option to customize the ribbon. Now, the ribbon is the section at the top. So if I click on that, then you've got loads of different options. And all you need to do is on the right hand side, make sure that you've got recording ticked on there. And as soon as you press OK, you will get the same tab that I've got at the top there. So There's two ways of using PowerPoint to record your content. So the first one is literally just to click on record slideshow, and I'll just show you how that looks. It's really, really user friendly. All you do is click on record. It gives you a 3, 2, 1 countdown, and then you just start talking or writing over your PowerPoint, and you just use the arrows to just go through your PowerPoint like you normally would, and then stop recording when you're done. So it's really, really easy to do. And then after that, all you'll see is that your annotations and your audio will be on the PowerPoint. And you can then just save that as a normal PowerPoint file, or you can export it to a video file. So that's what I've been doing to then allow me to put that into one of my lessons. The other way that you can do PowerPoint recordings is using the screen recording tab there. And that basically allows you to record anything on your screen. So it's not just your PowerPoint. If I wanted to record myself explaining something on a website or talking through a Word document, anything like that I can do, and I can flick between the different screens and it will record it all for me. And again, once you've done that, you can easily just save that as a video file. So that's the way that I usually record content. But there is another tool that I use as well, which is a free piece of software that I downloaded called Loom. You can see the app here. And all that Loom does is it basically just records your screen, but it also creates a link. So unlike PowerPoint where it creates a file, Loom just records it and creates a link that you can then share with pupils. So if I wanted to share this Year 10 PowerPoint here, then all I do is click on my recording and then I click on copy link, and then I can just share that with pupils really, really quickly and easily. So I don't have to create a file or save anything. So I tend to do that if pupils need a little bit of help during the lesson. I might just do a quick demonstration of how to do a question and then post the link to them. So that's a really nice way of doing that quickly.
I was going to say, unfortunately, due to Loom using the camera, it's not so easy to show live. So that's why we showed you the back, because you get a conflict, so it won't load up when we are currently recording. That is something that we've now found out.
Yeah.
Okay, Jenna, is that everything you've wanted to cover?
I think we've just got the last little bit on the PowerPoint, Lee. So the last bit that I wanted to talk to you about is then how I share that content, because you've got a few different options. And to be honest, they all work really well, but it depends what you're wanting to do with your video recordings as to how you decide to store and share them. So if you're wanting to put them into things like a Kahoot or a Nearpod lesson, then the easiest way is just to upload them to YouTube. And before I started doing this remote learning, I would have been like, I don't need to start a YouTube channel. That sounds like a lot of work. But it actually takes about 20 seconds to upload a video, give it a title and click on publish. And it just gives you a link that means it's easy to access and easy to embed in other things. So most of my videos at the moment, I just upload to YouTube. But you do have another option. If you are using Microsoft, you can upload those to Microsoft Stream, which the advantage of that really is that you can collaborate with other staff. And if you're producing content that might be good for revision later on, then you can all contribute to sort of like a revision playlist, which is really good for storing all your videos and using those later. And then, like I said, the use of Loom, really, I use it for either supporting pupils with specific bits of work, or for giving like class feedback. So sometimes I'll talk through the most difficult questions of the day in a quick Loom video. So something that I might not want to use again because it's very specific to that class. So hopefully that's given you a bit of an overview of what I do and how.
Fantastic, Jenna. Thank you very much. Okay, we just had one or two questions which just popped up at the time. So I will just first of all, maybe there's a device problem. I can only hear very well. Okay, we are aware there are a couple of little issues at the moment with devices. It's working slightly different today than we would have liked to. So I do apologise if the sound hasn't always been too good with ourselves. We are aware of that. That is something we are trying to have a little look at. First one is, do we have any examples of art or other practical subjects using these platforms?
Yeah, we do. I know that Emma in music's been using it quite a lot to demonstrate things and talk about different audio clips. I'm sure she can put that together for us.
Fantastic. And I do know as well, because of the section that is on AppPod. Was it AppPod that you used, Jenna?
Nearpod, yeah.
Yeah, Nearpod. There is also a draw section there, so they can use that within practical subjects as well. Which version of PowerPoint are you using that allows you to add the recording tab? Mine does not have this option, which limits, which is a message from Jason, which limits, bear with me, can't see it all. Bear with me.
Functionality compared to what you're showing. So you will have some basic options. I think under insert, you might have an insert screen recording tab if you're on a slightly older version of PowerPoint. So it might be worth looking at whether that's there. And I think the record slideshow feature, you might be able to access that from the slideshow tab as well.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any other questions?
I think we've got one here, Lee, that says, do you record the voiceover directly in Nearpod or in PowerPoint and then import? So you can do either. So if I'm doing it as a full video, then I will record it in PowerPoint. But you can record your audio straight into Nearpod as well, which is sometimes quicker if you're breaking it down into little sections.
Okay, I can see one other question as well, Jenna. Just to ask, I do apologise. My chat has stalled, so I can't see and I can't expand things at the moment.
Okay.
But it says, is Nearpod a free resource or is there a subscription fee to it?
So there's a basic account which is free, and at the moment they're offering a free upgrade as well due to the COVID-19 situation, so that you can access the full features and see whether you might want to subscribe to that later on. But a lot of the basic features are there on the basic plan and they're really good as well.
Okay, my options do not show the recording tabs. Is that, have you, I'm just thinking about that question, Richard, have you looked in the developers tool? I think, Jenna, do you just want to show very, very quickly how to get that recording tab up, just to make sure that, because I know there are a couple of different ways, but it is something that not a lot of people know, that Microsoft PowerPoint actually has a recording tool function, and it's a very simple one to use. Can you share your screen there, please, Jenna?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, sorry, mine is not allowing me to share.
Yeah, so within the insert tab, you've also got a screen recording function up there. If you wanted to just add audio, you can do there as well. And then within slideshow, you've got your recording function as well. The only advantage to adding the recording tab in is that you've got these different options for actually saving your recording.
Could you just show?
Yeah, I'll go through it again.
Recording yeah.
So you go to options, and then you want to customize the ribbon, and you want to make sure that you've got the recording tab checked on there.
Now that is normally turned off by default, so it is quite a nice one to turn on, and it is surprising just how many people are not aware that there is that option within PowerPoint, and it's a very easy, simple recording tool to use.
Yeah.
Okay. Do we have any more questions? Okay, not a problem. So what we'll do is we will now come to a close of this session. Bear with me. I'm just seeing if my screen will share. So basically, what we wanted this session to be is just to be a way for you to get some different ideas on where you could move forward and how to use live lessons or pre-recorded content for yourself as you move forward as a school or as a teacher or whatever your role is within your organisation. Okay, and what we would suggest now is if you are, once again, if you do or want any extra support, okay, if you could please go to our demonstrator website, which I will send out some information for you at the end of this webinar on an email. And if you would like any extra support, if you fill in that form, that will go to the London Grid for Learning, and then they will allocate your request to one of the demonstrator schools throughout the Northwest. And we are one of a couple of schools there, so we will definitely have something there to be able to support you. And I think that all it comes to the end now is to say thank you very much for joining us today, and I hope you have a good day. Thank you very much.